Welcome to the 5D Shift podcast with Openhand. It's where we take a higher dimensional perspective of the tremendous changes and transformation happening on the planet right now. There is so much confusion, distortion, disinformation happening on the surface in society that we really need to inform ourselves from the energy field itself to understand and intuit exactly what is taking place. And then you can orientate your life in a way that follows the flow and not the froth on the surface. In this episode, I'm going to be looking at the 5 key missions of Lightworkers here on the planet. Now, if you found your way to this work, if you sense, feel, and connect into the energy field, if you're noticing the 1111 synchronicity, then chances are you are a light worker. You have the capacity to connect up feedback loops with the universe, with the flow, and create from that dynamic. So that's what I want to cover. It's going to help you understand and ease your process and mediate through the world, through these challenging times. I'll be back in just a minute, so stay with me. And we'll get right into it. We've entered a pivotal moment in Earth's history. People in all walks of life are waking up and challenging the 3D shadow system. They're turning away from the fake stream, going inwards and igniting the passion of their soul. We're shifting consciousness into 5D. What does that mean exactly? How and when will it happen? Openhand is a higher dimensional ascended master consciousness working to illuminate the pathway forwards through the stormy transition. But this is never about telling you the truth. It's about offering essential insights into the shift, tools, meditations, and spiritual practice so you can realize your own truth. Because ascension to 5D is something only you can actualize for yourself. Get involved, explore, inquire, expand. Liberate your soul. Firstly, what is a light worker? If you found your way to this work and you resonate with various dynamics that are happening in the shift to 5D consciousness, the transformation breakdown of the lower paradigm. If you find yourself drawn to particular places, connecting with different people, and you're feeling the flow of energy, and you're transmitting that in meditation or just general connection with people, the chances are you're creating feedback loops with the universe, and that's accelerating the flow, and therefore you could consider yourself as a light worker. It could be in some kind of facilitation, it could be in meditation groups, it could be in yoga, it could be just standing on street corners and expressing yourself in some particular way. So you might consider yourself then that you're supporting the infusion of higher light through this shift, which is so necessary on the planet right now. So important to, let's say, demystify, debunk that term. It's particularly straightforward. If you find yourself and you're feeling a connection with the deeper meaning, the deeper purpose and flow, and you're able to channel that through you, you're able to amplify that in you, then you may consider yourself as a light worker. Now, understanding the key missions of light workers here in the shift is going to greatly ease your journey. You see, the problem is right now we're living in 2 worlds. And depending on how you look at the world, depending on the filters you're looking through, will depend on the sense of ease and peace you find and feel internally. If you're still being drawn and pulled by the old paradigm to some extent, which I guess you could say probably all of us are to some degree, but if you're being pulled strongly by the old paradigm, and if you're invested in what happens there, and if you're buying into the various dramas and the machinations, then what's going to happen is you're going to create a skewed landscape, and you're going to find yourself pulled in two different directions. It's going to create a lot of disharmony. It's going to create a lot of disruption in your external life. Practical, physical things will break down, won't work. Relationships will be more challenging than they need to, and you won't necessarily get the resources that you deserve and ought to come your way to support your journey here. So we have these two filters, one in which you could see the world in a particular way, a very polarized, distorted, breaking down, destructive kind of way, and the other, an emergence of feeling, an emergence of connection, an emergence of light, which lifts your vibration and resonates into your external environment. Now you're perceiving through signs, synchronicity, sacred geometry, symbology, and in so doing, that's informing your landscape in a completely different way. And it feels, no matter what chaos, what breaking down chaos is unfolding around you, it feels increasingly harmonious, aligned, and deep sense of inner peace. Yeah, just unfolds and centers in you, in your sacred ground of being. That's where we want to be. And coming from that place, and to the degree that we can do that, will greatly ease and facilitate our journey here as light workers. So we're living in two worlds, likely to be pulled in two different directions, at least two different filters in how you see the world. And by attuning to the field itself and knowing how you can do that, and your purpose and mission here is going to help you to attune, align with the right sense of movement and alignment for you. And it's going to be much more fulfilling, rewarding that way. You can say you're coming into your destiny. And that's the great opportunity right now, because where our work hasn't necessarily been respected through the aeons leading to this, now it's making increasing sense when you look through the filter, the fabric, the alignment of what's truly happening at a field level. So I'm encouraging, especially in the Openhand work, an alignment with this new emergence, seeing the multidimensional landscape and learning how to work with that on a day-to-day basis. To be clear, we're at a point where the old paradigm is being dug up at the roots and broken apart. Well, broken apart, it's still there, but the roots are broken. So it's still prevalent, it's all around us. You see it at every twist and turn, but the fabric is weakening and the coherency is diminishing. This is fantastic, because what it means is the higher light is infusing more strongly. And if you respond to the calling in your soul, your heart, if you respond to the sacred signs, synchronicities, then you're going to start weaving from that reality. That's the situation we're in, the broad picture of how we're moving in the shift right now. I want to look at 5 specific missions of light workers and interrelate those with specific circumstances that are happening on the planet right now and in society, to demonstrate, to reflect how we might work within them. So I'd like to take the first obvious one, which is awakening others. Now, how might we best do that? The first point to recognize is, of course, if you try to convince someone, somehow force them or persuade them to awaken, it's just not going to work. They're just going to be turned off by it, turned off by you, and extract pretty quickly. It's not about trying to impose or impress the shift onto another. It's a realization they must come to essentially themselves. Now, then you ask, well, what role is there for me in that? Well, by standing with them, next to them, and resonating your authentic soul frequency, it's like you're striking a tuning fork, and that brings their authentic frequency alive in them. Of course, people of a similar resonance, a similar soul ray harmonic, are going to be naturally drawn together. You will find in your vicinity people around you who can resonate on your vibration. But to be clear, if we're trying to impress, trying to impose, if we're efforting, that's going to turn people off. And not only that, but it's going to diminish the light inside of you. So it's a careful balance. It's about being drawn, allowing yourself to be taken to the right places, the right opportunities, to make the right connections and meet the right people at the right time. And then you're really holding the light. You're expressing, you're animating yourself. You might be expressing, well, this is how I live my life. This is what's going on for me. And that might resonate with them, impress them or whatever, but also activate soul, which is the crucial thing. If you're embodying energy, it will be felt. And that's the crucial thing. So people will be drawn to you. You'll be drawn to different circumstances, situations. Could be on the internet, yes. Could be groups on Zoom, yes, absolutely. But you'll be drawn to situations, circumstances, and people will be drawn to you. And then that resonance creates this positive feedback loop, which uplifts people. That, I would say, is the general way of looking at things. You may have different skills, different talents. You may do massage, you may do yoga, aromatherapy, energy healing, but essentially it's that resonance of embodied soul frequency which is really going to activate in them their frequency. That's the crucial thing. Now, right now, we're being greatly supported by this grand galactic convergence which is going on. What exactly is that? It takes quite a lot to get your head round until you've been really exploring it and delving quite deeply. We have the movement, the realignment, the reconnection of 4 key centers. And this is what I believe the 1111 synchronicity points to. The four numbers pointing to the singular connection between 4 points of consciousness. What are they? Well, you have the solar system is moving into with a high energy segment of the galaxy, and the Earth is connecting to the sun as the magnetic shield lowers. There's a strengthening of connection, a strengthening of energy, a strengthening of resonance. So even though we're moving into, or we're in the grand solar minimum, a 400-year cycle, there is a stronger impact of solar particle forcing that's happening on our planet. So you've got an alignment, a connection, a stronger energetic flow coming from the galactic core through the solar system and to the Earth as the Earth's magnetic shield lowers in the pole shift. Now that also has a big impact on our biomagnetic field. It lowers the sense of density and disconnect, and therefore the soul can emerge more strongly. That's why, probably one of the lead reasons why there's a widespread awakening on the planet. So we're being helped by that grand galactic convergence, those key alignments that are taking place. And so you've got people waking up all over the place, and that's going to accelerate. And so we're supported by that. And if we allow ourselves to be drawn to the right situations and circumstances through synchronicity largely and the feeling flow, then we're going to make these right connections, and you're going to find yourself much more easily fulfilling that key mission of awakening others. Now, to be clear, it's much more than an intellectual awakening. It's not just expecting to say, well, the shadow is doing this and the shift is doing that. It's more about The feeling sense of embodied soul, that's what it's all about. That's a soul level awakening, and then responding, feeling the pull, and going with that more and more in daily life. So this is the level of awakening that we're talking about. And really, as we've explained and shared in the Openhand work, there are 5 stages of that, 5 gateways, where you learn to follow the soul, you awaken to it, you learn to follow it, you're integrating higher and lower self, you're processing out karma, and then you're integrating your higher bodily vehicles, your spirit light body, and ultimately the macabre of multi-dimensionality here and now. So many levels of awakening. It's not just waking people up to the shadow that's activating, carrying out its various machinations in society right now. It's much, much more than that. So getting an understanding of the different levels of awakening through the 5 gateways, and then you might get an interpretation, an impression, an understanding of where the person you're working with is at, and maybe what they need to connect to next. So following the soul, not just tuning into it, for example. So this is the first, we can say the first mission, the most obvious one, helping awaken others, but it's a very natural process. It just comes to you authentically, and then you can build on that. What works best? What expressions of being help others in the most abundant, appropriate way? So this will be the first mission. Second one, more complex one, unraveling the energy field. What do I mean by this? Well, we have this tremendous realignment of the grand galactic convergence, which is drawing the Earth to a higher vibrational state. The whole solar system is going in that way. And so as the Earth accelerates, reanimates her torus, that's happening too, and the vibration rises, then it's pulling on the fabric of the old paradigm. That's why it's becoming so unstable. That's why you're seeing so much disruption, disharmony going on. That's what the shadow state is actually responding to or reacting to. It is not in the driving seat. The shift itself is in the driving seat, and the shadow is only reacting to it. Well, the more people stay locked down in the old system, the old paradigm, you create this growing tension between higher and lower paradigms, essentially. And what then needs to happen? Well, that becomes very explosive, or can be. And what needs to then happen is a steady unraveling of the energy field where it's gotten convoluted and stuck in different locations and places, dense cities, for example. Now, as light workers, as energy workers, you may find yourself drawn to a particular place, not necessarily a sacred site. It might be the center of a town, and you're sitting there drinking a cup of coffee or just whiling away your time, just breathing, and suddenly you notice through signs and synchronicity that the energy field seems to be changing. If you're paying attention, then the reflections will come your way and show you exactly what your consciousness is doing, or give you a hint as to that. So if you find yourself drawn, pulled to a particular location, then it's probably because there's a reason behind it. How can you work with that? Well, you're going to be, if that's happening to you, you're going to have strong empathic skills. Likelihood is you'll be drawn to a location and feel the convolution inside of you. Feel the contractions, the knotting of the field, but within you. And if that happens, the key is to put your attention there, work with it, work into it, breathe with it, and get the sense that you're unraveling through it. It's like you're unraveling a knot, unraveling through this constriction. You can do it with your own sense of feeling intention, breathing, visualizing it opening up and expanding, unraveling. Now, the degree to which you're connected into the external field will then determine the impact you can have in unwinding and harmonizing that particular situation. There are people all around the planet who are quietly doing this under the radar, so to speak. And when you've fulfilled that particular action, then pay attention to the signs and synchronicities that come back your way, the feedback loops which tell you, yes, this is being of high benefit and effect in the outer environment. Pay attention to that. You'll get that nice resonance, and it'll show you that your action, your work is having real purpose. And it will be supported in some particular way. When you contribute to the shift, to the movement, the infusion of light in that way, you might not get paid for it immediately, but it will find a way of coming back to you because you're expressing accurately, authentically out into the field. So this is what I would call the second mission, which is helping to unravel the field. Third one, realigning the intervention. What do I mean by this? Realigning the intervention. It's no secret that there is some tremendous shadow state intervention happening here on the planet. If you follow the evidence right back through the megaliths of Egypt, for example, and how they were constructed, if you look at how the human body made sudden and dramatic DNA changes almost overnight in our record, in our genetic record going back. If you look at the chromosome count, how it suddenly changed from 48 in great apes to 46 in Homo sapiens, it's obvious, blindingly obvious, that some sophisticated energy has been involved in that movement, that hybridization. Indeed it has. That's becoming increasingly aware to people right now. But that intervention, to be clear, it's not out there. What do I mean by that? Well, one of the great distractions, of course, right now is, objects in the sky that are being shot down. It's all about distracting attention to something that is out there rather than an influence which is in here. Now, when we recognize that different influences are coming in, that gives us the capacity, the opportunity to unravel, to unwind through that once we sense it's going on. How might we do that? Well, on February 4th this year, there was a major intervention by gray energies. It happened at the time of the full moon, and what you got a sense of, if you were paying attention, was a very kind of depressive, a suppressing, a demotivating. It creates a great sense of inertia. You don't really want to move. You feel disconnected from your flow, disconnected from guidance. And really all you really want to do is medicate. Either that's some kind of junk food or chocolate or whatever, or coffee, or you name it, a myriad of ways to medicate because it feels depressive and disconnected. And that is most likely that you're experiencing gray energy around you, a collectivized consciousness. You've seen the particular forms and the various representations of these beings. They are synthetic beings. They've come from Orion, possibly other constellations too. They were artificially hybridized, created as technicians within the field to enact, to carry out this huge planetary level intervention. They weren't the orchestrators of it or the architects, but they were the technicians of it, and they're still very much here. And what I experienced over that period, over the 4th of February full moon, was a full-on attack, essentially, by that energy. And my sense of it was, and in working with the benevolent mission, what I'm informed is it was like a kind of, a full-on assault to regain the initiative, to regain power after a lot of the agendas had been, holes had been punched in them, and it was starting to unravel and pull apart. And so what I get was that was a last ditch, maybe, maybe not, but a full-on assault to regain control. It failed. Why? How? If you're able to connect into the field empathically, and you'll find yourself under some kind of attack from the energy field, you're going to feel discomfort, you're going to feel tightness, you're going to feel pain, all this kind of thing, a disconnect from the divine, and you're aware of a dense energy that might be around you. To be clear, it's in the field, it's not out there, and UFOs and whatever, or they might be, but it's certainly here energetically, and it's connecting in through your DNA and trying to influence you and disconnect. If you feel that happening, the important thing is not to fight it first. Sounds strange, I know, but if you fight it, if you polarize it and attack it or try to in some way, then what's going to happen is you're creating a fight-fight polarity mechanism, which causes a spiking in the field and only pulls in more intervention energy. Because essentially intervention can look into the field and see it as like an infrared map whereby it sees the spiking energy hot points and it hones in on them. So how might we deal with it then? Well, when it's coming in, you can feel it and you can feel your reactivity to it because it's not pleasant, but then soften around it, and it's kind of like you can absorb it. I know this sounds a bit full on, but you can absorb, it's coming in anyway. You don't fight it, you let it come in, but then a crucial thing is to be clear to activate the Taurus through breathing. You're opening in the chakras. I know this is contradictory to what a lot in the spiritual mainstream would say, which they say is to close the chakras down, which actually plays into the hands of the intervention, because you're not able then to influence the field. You become a bigger target because you're more compacted, actually. So not a bigger target, but a more compacted target, less able to influence the field. However, if you're open in the chakras, you're open into the Taurus. Now, gray energy can't sustain or stay in the Taurus because the Taurus itself starts to unravel them and they must then leave. So if you can stay with any intervention and not fight it, not oppose it as such, but soften with it, let it come through you, it's either going to disappear or it's going to unravel through you. And a huge amount of unraveling took place in that assault that went on. And I can clearly say that the intervention of the gray consciousness fragmented at that point, and the coherency was greatly broken down. Now you can also help them realign. How do we do that? Well, of course, they're souls, they're lost souls that have been disconnected from the natural flow of life, disconnected from the source. So you can feel them in the field then. I felt them afterwards as a kind of fizz in the field. They didn't really know what to do, those that had broken away from the main intervention. It was kind of like a fizz. They didn't really know what to do. So I found myself naturally connecting up with that energy and weaving threads of light back to the vortex, the torus, the source, the singularity inside. You can do that inside yourself. And that then connects them back to the source, and then they'll come over into the angelic realm. So by working this way, we're actually having a massive amplifying effect on the realignment in the shift. To polarize, to demonize, to castigate, this will only perpetuate the disharmony on the planet and the warring, the fighting. What we need to do is to help wayward energies in the field realign. If we can do this, it's going to have a massive beneficial impact on the planet as a whole, worldwide. So this is how we can work. To be clear, every aspect of life on the surface is being influenced by the field. So if we can do that, then we're greatly helping in this grand realignment that's taking place. And I can report that that was a major benevolent mission that succeeded. There's still lots more to be done, where each individual has some kind of connection into the gray energy field. That still has to be worked with. But the coherency of that group intervention itself was fragmented and broken in many ways. So this is a very positive sign. You can expect that it's going to reflect in a greater sense of ease and movement on the surface. And if you want to break down the intervention of gray energy in your field, a crucial thing is to confront inertia. Inertia that will have you in the old patterns, the old behaviors, how you consume, what you eat, how you spend your free time, how much you spend on social media, and instead really concentrating on the evolutionary shift of your soul through meditation. Also spontaneity to break down the patterning and those predictable behaviorisms that you find yourself getting sucked into on a daily basis. The more you can interrupt those, the soul is always going to express differently from one day to the next. It's never exactly the same. And so allowing for progressive change, transformation, innovation of your daily patterns is going to greatly help. That's going to help you break free from that energy. So this is helping the intervention realign, and that's the third mission that I've detailed of Lightworkers here on the planet. The next one we can say is holding ground. To be clear, in the Ascension, we are not leaving the planet. We are not leaving the planet. We're staying on the planet, but we're reclaiming it from the intervention for the realignment with the galactic family, the broader galactic family of light. That's what we're here for. So even though we'll move beyond physical form, we're still here to anchor the higher light and onto the planet and our interconnection with the galactic family. That's why we're here. So holding ground is going to be utterly essential, even if we see the fabric breaking down in the pole shift and the ongoing grand solar minimum and so on. Holding ground will involve, you'll be drawn to different locations on the planet. Might be a favorite location, high energy location, might be a sacred site, to go there and just connect and just feel and breathe and be there. But also, of course, it can become more advanced using crystals, and if you find yourself drawn to shamanism, you might see particular items that appear in that location, a bird's feather, a stone, a rock, anything that is inviting a connection into that locality. You might have an idea or sense of how you can create a grid, for example, that helps localize and connect with star being nations. So if you find a particular resonance with a particular star being group, whether it be Andromedan, Arcturian, Lyran, whether it be the Venusians, for example, are helping supporting the shift a lot at this moment too, or even the evolved Anu, you might find that by helping connect into a particular location, also the aligned Draconians, then you're going to be animating the Taurus, you're going to be securing an energy field, you're going to be helping benevolence connect into those particular locations. So be aware that you can fulfill this, understand how, get to understand. We do this a great deal in the Openhand facilitation program. Get to understand the ways and methods in which you can secure energy fields and really support that location. And that's going to help us secure the new paradigm throughout the dimensions. And that's one key element of the Lightworkers mission here. Finally, being a bridge between worlds. Being a bridge between worlds. What does this mean? I've talked about there being two worlds we're living in, not one. And you're going to feel that inside. At times you're going to be pulled in one direction, then the other. The crucial thing is to recognize yourself that actually at this time you're in completely neither of these two worlds. You have one foot in the old paradigm and one in the new. And if you understand that, it can help to mediate, process through dissonance and disharmony you might feel inside when you're trying to find a solution which just doesn't want to work at that time because of the pull in two different directions. If you can learn to hold the unresolution and just really sit with it and hold it, even though the situation is demanding, calling for a resolution, if you can just hold the energy, then you will find that a solution comes to you. So you might have something that's going on in the 3D world, which won't immediately fix, and you're being guided from the higher dimensional flow, but it doesn't somehow want to mediate through. But if you can sit in the middle and just hold it, you'll experience it as times of maximum inconvenience, of impossibility, where there just doesn't seem like there's a way forwards. My advice, because I've experienced this so many times in recent years, is just to recognize that. Don't try and get an outcome immediately. Just hold the situation and hold the energy and observe what's going on, because your consciousness has the capacity to weave dissonant movements, flows, agendas, and find a way through it, find a way forwards through it. This can be it where you live and work, or where you work with work colleagues. It could be with family and friends who are going in a different direction, who are being pulled by the shadow, for example. And you're kind of caught in the middle. The key is to recognize, yes, you are, and that's okay. So being grounded on the one hand, making sure, yes, you're aware of what's going on, but also connected, attuned to the higher flow. Now, this takes a lot of practice. You have to work at it, because the lower dimension can be so, the lower reality can be so compelling and pull you in and want a solution immediately. And that can close you down and switch you off to the infusion of higher light, which is saying, no, this is really what needs to happen. So it's like you're holding a balance in both hands, and you're in the middle, and you may feel the dissonance inside as a result. Maybe emotionally it'll cause some kind of disharmony and dissonance going on inside. Maybe it'll trigger karma for you, or it'll pull on you intellectually where there's no immediate obvious solution. Hold it in that case. It's a bit like juggling balls at that point. Here are all the things going on and nothing seems to want to land. Well, you hold that and you wait until something, yes, this has landed. Now I'll go forward with that. I call this the Ray Forward Diplomat. It is one of the now 9 rays we're talking about, and it's a key fundamental aspect of bringing the soul alive, especially for light workers. So crucial to pay attention to that. You're likely to find yourself as a bridge between worlds. Don't try to, struggle for solutions. Be careful about being too grounded and sucked into the 3D. Be careful of going out of body and being in the higher dimensions, because then you'll be ineffectual. You won't be able to bring energy to bear. You won't be able to manifest and create. So it's a case of holding, juggling the balls, noticing, not striving for solution, unraveling tightness, tension, disharmony, and then watching for the energy to land. It's a feeling saying, yes, this is it. Now we go in that direction, and it becomes abundantly clear. And then signs and synchronicity speak to you. This is the bridge between worlds that I'm speaking of. It's crucial right now, absolutely crucial. We have just witnessed a humongous earthquake, for example, in Syria, Turkey, to me, this represents the ancient serious karma of the breakdown of an old construct. And it's greatly precipitated, in my mind and my observation, by the grand galactic convergence, particularly the pole shift, which is lowering of the magnetic shield, and that precipitates volcanoes and earthquakes, and that's going to escalate. So our ability to be a bridge between worlds is becoming crucial. You know, as I saw a particular photograph of a young girl, can't have been more than, I don't know, 6 or 7, stuck under a huge concrete block, comforting, maybe it was a brother, I don't know, but a young boy, and just pure serenity and grace in her eyes. And that, for me, you know, I wasn't there, I didn't see the circumstances of it, but that's what I got at a soul level from it. And in many ways, being a bridge between worlds, being a light worker, is about holding the energy. Whatever's going on, you know, what tremendous courage and awareness in a young child to do that. And of course, it's not about our age, because many many souls are coming in now as you know, youngsters, indigos, who are able to hold a tremendous consciousness. And that's what this is really all about. It's being that rock in the storm and holding the energy. And then others will benefit greatly from it, because they'll see the grace and the serenity in your eyes. These then are the 5 key missions that I would encapsulate and describe of light workers, energy healers, facilitators in the shift right now and going on the planet. And I'd like to culminate with a meditation which gets a sense of holding the torus, being open through the chakras, and being that bridge. That's what I'd like to do to conclude with. And it'll be a short meditation, just an example. If you're inspired and you resonate with the Openhand approach and what I've expressed and shared through this podcast, then come and get involved in our work, because we go into this kind of thing all the time in much greater depth and detail. Begin with then by relaxing and noticing, attuning to the breath. Inhale through the nose. And to begin with, just exhale through the mouth. And as you inhale deep from the back of the throat and exhale through the mouth, notice the feeling expansion at the back of the throat. You're in the throat chakra. And this is opening into the singularity of the torus. And now inhaling, exhaling through the nose, and paying attention to the expansion in the back of the throat. Now, as you inhale, you may well feel the expansion upwards through the third eye and toward the crown. You're opening in the higher chakras. Now on the out breath, you're exhaling down through the head, through the throat, through the heart, lower chakras, all the way to the base. Full range from the base up on the in-breath, down on the out-breath. Now getting a sense on the in-breath of the expansion, the raising of consciousness up, and hold the breath above the crown. And then on the out-breath, just for a few moments, then on the out-breath, breathing down and holding the breath in the base on the out-breath. And now on the in-breath, you might get a sense of a kind of swaying feeling. If that's the case, then you're probably picking up the Taurus, Kundalini rising. And as you exhale, the sense of an opposite swaying flow to it. The two combine as the Taurus, as flowing, moving Kundalini. Now you're animating the Taurus. You can do this in any key location. It helps the field realign. Just the sense of this, just the breathing, moving animation in this way of the Taurus. And if you get intervention coming into your field, you might notice it happens at a particular chakra, say the solar plexus. You then put your attention in the solar plexus. Breathe into it, unravel through it. Inhale into it, unravel through it. The heart, inhale into it, unravel through it. Be sure to be grounded. Inhale into the base, unravel through it. The throat. Now those areas just came to me spontaneously. You might want to do them sequentially. Out through into the third eye. Out through it. The crown. So you're opening the chakras, you're opening into the singularity. Keep working on whatever areas of tightness you feel. Now you're unraveling intervention in that location that's coming in. And you're then realigning it with the source, assuming it stays. It might just leave, which often happens. So you're working the chakras in this way, you're working the convolutions, the tightness. And as you inhale in the higher chakras, you can just open yourself up to benevolent guidance. Just be clear that only those star being nations that have your highest interests and that of all life at heart, you're open to connecting with those. But in this approach, we certainly don't channel. That potentially overrides your own sovereignty, and you don't necessarily know what's coming in. We invite the resonance of those all working, moving together with the shift. Pleiadians, Arcturians, Andromedans, evolved Anu, Lyrians, Venusians, for example. So we're making those connections, but you might notice that as you're doing it, you're coming out of the lower densities to some fair degree. You might feel now that you're not fully in the lower chakras. So now as you exhale, breathing through the lower chakras and feeling your connection into the physical, the emotional, the mental bodies. Inhale up, connect. Exhale down, infuse. Inhale up, connect. Exhale down, infuse. One more. Inhale up, connect. exhale down, infuse. Now, if you contemplate some kind of convolutions going on in your life right now, you're not sure about how to deal with it, visualize it, see it, feel it. Might be in relationship, might be how you live and work. Hold it, feel the energy of it, sense it. What does it look like? Maybe it's a ball that needs to be unraveled. And here it is in front of you now, in your hands. What color is it? What fabric? Is it organic? Is it metallic? What is it? See it, visualize it, feel it. Now just hold it and breathe and bring your consciousness to bear with it. Feel the coherency of it beginning to break down. Visualize light going through it. See it unraveling. And continue to work with it in that way. And if you have other issues, visualize them too. And bring your consciousness to bear. Just an unraveling, realigning effect on them. Not to intention something. Because you might be intentioning the wrong thing. So not to intention. Trust that you animating, amplifying realignment of its own accord will help that problem, that issue to resolve. And then watch for the guidance through that situation in the immediate hours, days ahead. And you will get shifts going on in it for sure. Let go of your attachment, watch what wants to happen. Thank you so much for tuning in. There is so much happening on the planet right now, and I'm feeling a great connection with people in this community, the Openhand community, through our Ascension portal. Check us out on openhandweb.org, and do tune in to further episodes of this 5D Shift podcast. There is so much happening that we need to bring light to, an illumination to, of how the energy field is moving, because that's what we want to really be moving with. And then we'll be aligned with this 11-11 synchronicity. It's going to guide us through all of the day-to-day minutiae of our lives, and we're going to see the most extraordinary transformation imaginable on the planet. And what's more is you're going to greatly transform through it. In 10 years from now, you'll look back and you'll reflect on how much you've grown and integrated, and you'll be amazed at what is possible and can unfold for you. So I encourage everybody, keep working with what's going on, keep centering, keep grounding, keep connecting, stay centered in the sacred ground of being. I wish you well in the shift. Namaste. Been inspired? Then get involved with the revolutionary work of Openhand. Join us on seminars and retreats, online and terrestrial, for groundbreaking meditations, illuminating self-realizations, and plenty of fun. It's all supporting the great planetary shift to 5D consciousness. Join kindred spirits today. Visit openhandweb.org.